Hi there. My name is Jack, and I'm from Alaska. I'm 17 years old. You could say I've always been a bit of a loner, but I have always been content with my own company. However, one day, it almost cost me my life. Let me tell you what transpired on that ill-fated day. Valentine's Day was soon approaching, and I found myself feeling more and more lonely. I'd never had a girlfriend before, and I didn't really have any close friends to spend the holiday with. I decided to try to make the best of it and spend the day doing something I enjoyed. I'd go for a hike in the woods behind my home. I packed a bag with snacks and a water bottle and set off early in the morning. The woods were beautiful and peaceful, and I soon forgot about my loneliness. I hiked for hours, taking in the sights and sounds of the forest. However, as the day wore on, the sky began to darken and a storm rolled in. I realized that I had been hiking for much longer than I had intended and needed to head back home before it got any worse. I was pretty tired from walking all day, but I picked up my pace as the storm quickly became a full-blown blizzard. The wind howled through the trees, and the snow began to pile up around me. I was disoriented and couldn't see more than a few feet in front of me. I knew I needed to find shelter fast, but I didn't know where I even was. Just as I was starting to lose hope, I saw a light in the distance. I trudged towards it, and soon found myself standing in front of an old cabin. The door was slightly ajar, and I could see a warm fire crackling inside. I pushed open the door and stepped inside. The cabin was small and cozy, and I was relieved to be out of the storm. I took off my wet clothes and warmed myself by the fire. As I sat there, I noticed something strange about the cabin. There were no signs of any recent occupants, but there were pictures on the walls and candles burning on the table. It was as if someone had been living there, but had just stepped out for a moment. I was starting to feel uneasy when I heard a noise outside. I froze, listening intently. The noise grew louder and louder, and soon I could hear someone or something clawing at the door. My heart raced as I realized I was not alone in the cabin. I grabbed a fireplace poker and waited for whatever was outside to enter. The door burst open, and a figure stumbled into the cabin. I raised the poker, ready to defend myself, but then I saw that it was a young girl. She was covered in snow and torn clothes. She was alive. I lowered the poker and helped the girl to a chair by the fire. She looked very distressed. "I've been lost in the woods for hours. I just stumbled upon this cabin by chance. Thank God." I was relieved that I was no longer alone, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was not right. Anyway, as the night wore on, the girl and I talked and talked. There was literally nothing else to do anyway. She told me that her name was Sarah and that she had been on a solo hike of her own when the storm hit. We laughed and talked and soon began sharing our deepest wishes and secrets. I'd completely lost track of time. As the fire flickered and the storm raged outside, I realized I had never felt more connected to anyone else. But just as I was about to tell Sarah how I felt, she stood up suddenly and announced she had to leave. Confused, I asked her where she was going. She looked at me with a sad smile. "I'm sorry, Jack. I can't stay here with you. It's not safe." I was confused and scared. "What do you mean it's not safe? Who or what is after you?" "It's Valentine's Day, Jack. And on this day, the spirits of the lonely and the broken-hearted come out to claim a companion. They lure people into the woods with promises of love and connection, but they only want to keep them trapped forever. I was one of them, but I was able to break free. You need to leave this cabin and never return, or you'll be trapped with me forever." My heart raced with fear. I didn't know what to believe. Was Sarah telling me the truth, or was she just insane? I decided to take my chances and stay with her. "I'm not leaving you here alone. I'm determined." "I understand, but you need to know that if you stay, you'll never be able to leave. We'll be trapped here forever. I didn't care. I had finally found someone I connected with, and I wasn't going to let her go without a fight. We spent the night talking, laughing, and getting to know each other better. I felt like I had known Sarah my whole life, but as the night went on, I started to notice changes in her. Her eyes became darker, her skin became colder, and her laughter became more sinister. When the sun rose, I realized that Sarah was not who she seemed to be. She was a spirit, a lonely spirit that had been trapped in the woods for centuries, waiting for a companion to keep her company. She had used her powers to lure me into the cabin, and now she would keep me trapped there forever. I knew I had to escape, but I didn't know how. Sarah was always watching me, always waiting for me to make a move. I knew I had to be careful, but I also knew I couldn't let her keep me trapped there. Later that afternoon, when Sarah was fast asleep, I snuck out of the cabin and started to run through the woods. I knew I had to be quick before she woke up and realized I was gone. I ran for miles, dodging trees and leaping over fallen logs. I could hear Sarah's screams of rage behind me, but I didn't stop. Finally, I reached the edge of the woods and collapsed on the ground. I was safe. I had escaped the spirit's trap. I looked back at the woods, knowing I would never be able to go back there again. I had finally found a companion, but it was not the one I had hoped for. I had narrowly escaped the lonely spirit's trap, but I will never forget the memory of that Valentine's Day and the loneliness that almost consumed me. If you enjoyed this story, do like this video, subscribe to our channel, and tell us about your own creepy, scary Valentine's Day stories in the comments below.